Well, doctors say a lack of food across the Gaza Strip means that children are now dying from malnutrition. Aid officials have also warned of a looming famine in the besieged enclave. Well, I'm joined now by UNICEF spokesperson Tess Ingram. Thank you so much for joining us. Tess, explain to us just how bad the malnutrition situation is in Gaza.
It's almost beyond comprehension at this point that we have the number of children dying from malnutrition in the north of the Gaza Strip rising almost every single day when there's aid available just a matter of kilometres away that could save their lives. We're talking about food and therapeutic supplies that hospitals could use to help treat malnutrition in children. It's an incredibly serious problem with the human body when it doesn't get enough nutrition and children are too thin and their immune systems are weak, leaving them really vulnerable to death. So this is something that's preventable and it's man-made and it's predictable. So all of these things mean that it's resolved if we can just get enough aid to the hospitals treating the children and enough food to the families that so desperately need it in the north of the Gaza Strip.
Yes, and if you could explain to our viewers, it's quite a specific criteria, isn't it, for a famine to be declared? That hasn't actually happened yet. Are we expecting that to be announced?
So the UN's been warning since December that famine would look likely in the Gaza Strip if conditions didn't change, and arguably it has continued to get worse. So we're waiting for that decision from the committee that decides whether or not a famine is declared. As you said, there's a set of criteria that they assess based on the situation, and it is a very serious declaration. It's only happened twice globally in the last 13 years, so this would be a very strong signal. The situation in the Gaza Strip is beyond breaking point, and children's lives are very clearly at risk.
Absolutely, and as you said, the situation is entirely preventable. It is man-made. Why is it so hard to get food and other aid into the territory?
So there's two challenges that we face, getting the aid in and then getting it across the Gaza Strip. So in terms of getting the aid in, there are still challenges with the complex and slow screening process at the border. Before the escalation in hostilities, we saw 500 trucks get into Gaza every day. Now we're averaging about 130, so it's nowhere near what the people need, particularly given that the situation now is a humanitarian crisis. We then have the challenge of the little aid that we do get in, moving it from where the crossing points are in the south to the people that need it. We're distributing around 40% of it in the south, and the rest we're trying to move up to the north. But we're faced with challenges along the way, like damage to roads, the obvious threat to the safety of the people we're trying to serve and to our staff, and restrictions on our movement. We can only go where we're able to coordinate with the parties, and that's why we haven't been able to get to the north as much as we would need, because we haven't been able to get those safety assurances that guide our work.
And of course we are talking about children here, infants, young kids who are developing, who are growing. What are the long-term effects of a lack of adequate nutrition?
So when children don't have proper nutrition, it's very simple. We know that children need 8 food groups, proper nutrition from fruit and vegetables and other things to grow and develop in a healthy way. And if they don't get that, it leaves them vulnerable to diseases that can affect their growth and development, but also to developmental delays. And this is quite a severe form of malnutrition called stunting, but it's where the brain doesn't develop properly, and it can have lifelong impacts that affect this person's learning at school, but also their long-term ability in the workplace.
Tess, really good to get your thoughts on this today. We really appreciate it. That's Tess Ingram from UNICEF. Many thanks.